Thank you. So thank you everyone for joining today. Welcome to today's presentation on preparing for funding opportunities. To all the veterans on the call, thank you for your service and happy holidays to everyone. The holidays are now approaching. My name is Sarah Antonacci. I'm an Assistant Director of Grants Administration at the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, or DASNY for short. With me on today's call is Jonathan Fishbein, General Counsel with the New York State Department of Veteran Services, or New York State DVS, as well as others from DVS and DASNY. Deborah Fasser, Director of Strategic Communications, is our technical assistance, is providing technical assistance as it relates to today's calls. So Deborah, if you would like to provide some insight on the do's and don'ts today, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Just a couple things while we start. On the bottom of your screen, you should see a chat function, which you can type in Q&A questions for the panelists, and they will get to them as they can, either at the tail end of the presentation, and then we will open it for a Q&A at the end. You can also raise your hand when we're done with the presentation. I'll look for those hands raised and try to let you talk and ask the question. If you have any other questions, again, you can use the chat, or the raise hand works as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And just to let everyone know, this presentation is being recorded today. It will be posted on the Department of Veteran Services website. The link will be provided to you all, as well as any relevant documentation pursuant to today's presentation. So again, thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Jonathan, for allowing us to provide this information to various organizations and allowing us to post this on your website. The objective of today's presentation is to provide not-for-profit organizations on guidance on how to ready themselves to apply for a grant opportunity through New York State. The biggest takeaway from today's presentation is noted on this slide, as well as the next. The organization's legal name and federal ID must be consistent between the documents listed in this chart and are required to be uploaded into the New York State Grants Management document vault. A not-for-profit organization will take a similar shape to this organizational chart, depending if it's an all-volunteer organization. The senior leadership is typically with an all-volunteer organization with the board, which is noted in the blue dashes. Or if it has paid employees with or without volunteers, it'll basically be this entire chart. With the corporate structure and senior leadership structure in mind that we just went over, we're going to dive into the New York State Grants Management website, the Grants Gateway Document Vault, which is going to be referred to as the document vault throughout the presentation, and its critical importance in receiving funding from New York State entities. So first, the New York State Grants Management website, and again, this document will be provided to you, so you don't need to write down any links, is provided to you and shared with you on this screen. That website has a vast number of resources that will assist an organization in getting familiarized with what is required of a not-for-profit organization and getting registered, as well as to obtain a pre-qualified document vault. We will be going over some of the sections of the website in the following slides. In addition, there are two valuable resources to take note of, which excerpts are taken from during this presentation. These resources, these manuals, are going to be located in the Get Pre-Qualified area of the website, which we're going to go over momentarily. The two manuals include the Vendor User Manual and the Vendor Pre-Qualification Manual. In 2013, an organization wishing to receive state funding had to register with New York State Grants Management and complete and obtain a pre-qualified document vault. That remains in effect today. The document vault is a central repository for information, documentation for all state entities to access. The pre-qualifying agency to be discussed later, we'll talk about that, and any entity, state entity, must deem an organization eligible for an opportunity as well as be responsible. We have to acknowledge that they're responsible before proceeding with any funding opportunity. Therefore, it is important to have a document vault in the pre-qualified status throughout the grant opportunity process with the proper documents uploaded into your document vault. It is highly recommended that all prospective applicants of New York State funding opportunities start with the New York State Grants Management process and allow plenty of time to complete the process. The registration and pre-qualification process can take a significant amount of time depending on how prepared the organization is and how well they understand the process. Immediate action is recommended to be taken by organizations already registered in the system or not, as a conversion from the New York State Grants Management System, or the system as it will be referred to throughout the rest of this presentation, will be converted into the New York State Financial System, or SFS. It will be taking place in the upcoming year and is noted on the main page of the New York State Grants Management website. It's noted in the red box on this slide. All organizations are encouraged to go to this link regarding the transition to see how an organization can be prepared for this conversion, which includes making sure they have a document vault pre-qualified at the time of conversion. So as you can see, obtaining a pre-qualified document vault is extremely important because state entities will not be able to entertain an application for an opportunity if the organization's document vault is not pre-qualified. So how does a not-for-profit get registered with New York State Grants Management? Well, again, a not-for-profit organization may obtain information on registering with New York State Grants Management by going to their main web page. Again, that link will be provided to you, and then selecting the Register Your Organization on the main web page. From there, you'll be directed to a site that will look very similar to what you're seeing on the slide. On this page, you will be provided instructions on how to register the organization and what forms will be required to complete and submit for registration, and where and how to send those documents. Such documents include a registration form, an organizational chart, and if an entity does not already have a state financial system payee number, then a substitute W-9 form, not to be mistaken with the IRS form, will be required as well. When noting the legal name on these documents, the federal ID, or that federal employer identification number, or sometimes referred to as the tax identification number, is required. The information must be accurate and consistent with the other corporate documents, which is noted in slide 2, and we will provide more guidance coming up in the future slides. When completing the registration form, it is highly recommended that the organization provide 2 delegated administrators. The reason being is that, you know, if somebody gets ill or one individual doesn't have the information, the other does, it's helpful to have 2 individuals, one as a backup. So in the registration help section on this web page, the Register Your Organization web page, the New York State Grants Management Team offers live webinars on registering and a YouTube video. Apologies, that is approximately 6 minutes in length. Webinars and videos for all parts of the New York State Grants Management process can be accessed in the, quote unquote, help areas of each page that you enter. It's also going to be located in the training and guidance area of their website, which I'll go into a little bit later in this presentation. As previously noted, if the organization is registering for the first time with New York State Grants Management, that substitute W-9 form will be needed. The substitute W-9 will allow the New York State Grants Management team, which is not DASNY staff or DVS staff, it is a grants management website with their own staff. They have to request an SFS payee number for the organization before the process can begin. If the state financial system is unable to match the legal name to the FEIN number through the IRS, this is going to unfortunately hold up the process and possibly cause significant delays, including risking not being able to apply for an opportunity. So please be sure to work with the New York State Grants Management Team or your state funding agency to determine what is required to resolve any issues as it relates to, getting registered and getting a document vault through New York State Grants Management. The New York State Grants Management Team has advised me that they are only allowed to submit for an SFS payee number for an organization every 5 business days. And the organization may risk missing out again. I want to reiterate, applying for funding opportunities if you are unable to get into the system. In addition, again, I want to reiterate that the corporate documentation must be consistent with the legal name and federal identification number where needed. So once the organization is registered with the New York State Grants Management System, the system itself will auto-generate 2 emails to the delegated administrator or the administrators, depending on how many you request. And the first email that will be sent to the delegated administrator will have your username. And then the second will have a temporary password. That temporary password is only good for 24 hours. So you'll want to make sure that that password is changed before proceeding or putting it aside to go back for another day. It's also necessary for you to check and monitor your junk and spam folders if you don't see the emails come through to your inbox, your main inbox of your email account. So now that the organization is registered and has access to the system, the delegated administrator must complete and submit a document vault for review. This is going to be a common topic through the remainder of this presentation. Like registering my organization web page, the Get Pre-Qualified selection on the main web page of the Grants Management website will provide instructions on what steps an organization will need to complete, what documents will need to be available for upload into the document vault, and how to submit the document vault, which we will discuss later in the presentation. For those who like the video option, the Get Pre-Qualified webpage also offers a 23-minute YouTube video on getting pre-qualified. A hyperlink is located in the helpful resources area on the left side of the web page, similar to what you're seeing on this slide. Select the view video once you open that hyperlink and it will play the video. It is recommended that the first area of the document vault that the delegated administrator concentrate on is the organizational information page. So when your agency delegated administrator opens, you should see these 4 tabs on the page. You're going to start here in the organizational information page. While it's not shown on the slide, the organizational information page will require certain fields to be completed about the organization. The legal name will need to be entered again, which should match that SFS payee name, the DBA, federal ID, and other fields, including selecting the agency that will pre-qualify the document vault, which is going to be located at the very bottom of the document vault organizational information page, and the organization's fiscal year end. Only the month and day will be entered into that field on the organizational information page. We'll go into a little bit more detail about why that is critical in the coming slides as well. The agency being selected to conduct the pre-qual reviews is recommended to be the agency that knows your organization the best, and it's critical for the organization to identify their fiscal year end properly because the IRS 990 audit review and findings in the CHAR 500 or 410 area of the document vault it's because those dates are critical where it'll auto generate an expiration date for the whole document vault, not just those sections, but the whole document vault will actually go into an expired status once it hits the critical expiration date. Again, we'll go over that in a minute because again, I had somebody actually reach out to me yesterday where they were concerned that they passed that expiration date, but they're not actually reviewing their fiscal documents until the end of this month. So we'll go into that in just a moment. So next, the organization may then select the Document Vault tab. Again, on your screen, it's when you are logged in as the delegated administrator, it's going to be all the way to the right. When you open that tab, that will bring you to an area where you're going to be required to answer some questions in the required forms area and required documents. And that's going to be those corporate documents that are listed on slide 2, which again, we're going to go over in great detail coming up. So the list of documents noted here, the delegated administrator will want to have readily available in PDF format to upload to the document vault and again are identified here in the red box. And again, we're going to be going over in the upcoming slides. If the corporate documents do not have accurate and consistent legal name on them, then the organization risks the document vault being returned for modification, which will also mean that the organization will need to correct the deficiencies and re-upload the document in its entirety before resubmitting the document vault for review. This is, in my opinion, the biggest problem area of the document vault review process for organizations. The document vault process consists of a back and forth between the organization and the pre-qualifying agency. Document vault submission is not necessarily a one and done submission. So don't think that you've answered the questions, you've uploaded the document, you submitted it for pre-qualification, that's it. If the pre-qualifying agency feels they need a section of the document vault corrected, then they will provide an external note in the section or sections describing the deficiency, or in some cases, send an email or they may do both, send an email to the delegated administrator advising them of the deficiency. And again, you might want to check your junk and spam folders if that email is sent to you as the agents or the delegated administrator. When a document vault is returned by the pre-qualifying agency, the system will auto-generate an email to the delegated administrator or administrators stating that modifications are needed. That status will show the document vault modifications required status. The organization must review the external notes. Again, I'm going to reiterate the notes in the sections to see where the deficiencies were. Or at the bottom of the document vault, there is a status report that can be generated by the organization, and then it's going to basically print out all of the deficiencies that are needed. But again, some agencies will put the notes in the document vault itself. Some will send an email, preferably they're doing both, but again, just make sure you're double checking email and the sections of the document vault. If the delegated administrator doesn't understand what is required or the process, then lengthy delays can occur and the organization risks missing out on applying for funding opportunities. This is why it's so important for the delegated administrator or administrators to monitor their email, including the junk spam folders, and getting started as soon as possible. In addition, it's extremely important that the organization's document vault be maintained in that pre-qualified status. As stated above, the audit review and findings that IRS 990 and the CHAR 500 and 410 sections have an auto-generated expiration date based on the fiscal year dates to be entered by the organization. So when these documents are uploaded into these sections, the organization will note the start and end date of the fiscal year. You'll want to make sure that the fiscal year in these particular sections are noted as the first date your fiscal year starts and the date that the fiscal year ends and the year for which you are uploading that document. So if you are uploading a 2022 document for these areas, you and your calendar, your fiscal year is calendar year, you will want to write in those sections for your start and end date, January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. The system will then auto-generate a expiration date in that area. So again, it's tremendously important to review and provide updated documents prior to that expiration date, meaning maintaining that document vault. You're not going to only want to update those fiscal year-end documents, but also make sure you're checking the other areas as well. It's important to make sure that we have correct board members, senior leadership information, et cetera, which again, we're going to go over in a minute. If this, and again, we're going to talk about the expiration date. So if the system gets to that date, the even if it's one or another section, once the system recognizes an expiration date, it's going to kick that document vault into the expired mode. So again, it's extremely important to make sure that you monitor that document vault. Again, because you're risking the chance of applying for an opportunity, obtaining a contract, and possibly reimbursement. Okay. So next, as the delegated administrator, and this is a role, which we're going to talk about roles in a minute, that an individual from your veterans organization or a not-for-profit organization will have when you register for to get into the system. So as a delegated administrator, the documents noted on this slide are going to be needed to be available in a PDF format to upload into the sections of the document vault. That's the required document area that we just went over. While the system will allow for a single page upload, so I'll get into an example in a minute, but of a document to be uploaded into sections. So it's preferred if your certificate of incorporation is 6 pages, you're not individually uploading 6 individual pages on today, for example. You want to make sure that that document is scanned as one document, 6 pages, or you individually scan them as a PDF and then combine them into one PDF before uploading them into that section. I'm just using certificate of incorporation as an example. This also occurs with the bylaws and other areas of the required document area. So again, it's very important to upload it as one document instead of single documents. So again, over the course of the next several slides, we're going to go over each of these corporate documents. As previously noted, the state must deem an organization responsible prior to awarding the organization a contract. In some cases, verifying the organization remains responsible prior to reimbursement. So why is a certificate of incorporation papers or other equivalent document required? Well, it's to verify an organization's correct legal name and to ensure that they are able to do business in the state of New York. Not all organizations may have a certificate of incorporation, so what's considered to be an equivalent document. In some cases, a charter, which is issued by the New York State Education Department, is acceptable. And in the case of veterans organizations that are identified as a subordinate under a parent organization, like a VFW or American Legion, you may have to file a certificate of election. And we have recently received guidance from the Department of State for those that are on this call that, you know, had gotten pointed to the direction of the Board of Elections. We have better guidance for you all that will be posted on the Department of Veteran Services website. So information will be forthcoming. So what needs to be on the original certificate of incorporation paper and any amendments? Well, of course, the legal name and its purpose will be needed in regards to that certificate of incorporation, as well as the Department of State seal or stamp that you are seeing on this slide. Which nonprofit organizations will be required to file a certificate of election, and what must a certificate of election include? I just went over that, but it is a veterans organization that is not incorporated through the Department of State, and they are a subordinate under a parent organization, a national organization or a state organization like VFW again, or American Legions, as well as have rights given to them under the New York State Benevolent Orders Law. The veterans organization must obtain from the Department of State or file with the Department of State and then obtain a stamped certificate of election. Again, those guidance, the Department of State has provided some guidelines and guidance for filing and obtaining a certificate of election, which we will provide to those veterans organizations that fall under this subordinate under a parent organization scenario. The IRS determination letter. This one is tricky, especially with veterans organization. A nonprofit registered as a corporation through the Departments of State, and it is a veterans organization or otherwise, and has its own federal ID, must have its own IRS 501c determination letter in the Department of State, registered with the legal name. The IRS determination letter will identify under what section the organization is claiming exemption. Filing a request to the IRS for the 501c determination letter is not the same as a copy of the letter itself. So an IRS determination letter is going to look similar to this on the slide here. This particular one is a veterans organization listed as a subordinate, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But basically what I just said is if XYZ organization is a not-for-profit organization registered to do business in the state of New York as a corporation through the Department of State, then you will, and have a federal identification number, you will have to file for an IRS determination letter. And on that determination letter, it is usually addressed to the corporation, and it will have on it your tax ID number, and somewhere in here in the body of the letter, and sometimes on the side, depending on the structure of the letter they provide to you, it will tell you how you were formed. So in this case, obviously this is a veterans, but it's saying that they were created under 501c19. So let's talk about veterans organizations and how they are organized under a parent organization. So, and this IRS determination letter. So in some cases, a veterans organization who is a subordinate under a parent organization. And typically we're not able to locate them when we do a DOS or Department of State corporation search on the New York State Department of State website. You would provide a group IRS 501c determination letter addressed to the parent organization, such as what you're seeing on the slide here. In the parent's IRS 501c determination letter, it will identify again that they are filing on behalf of a group. So you will be on a number of pages, in some cases 40 plus pages of subordinates attached to this document that the parent organization supplied to IRS. So in the parent's IRS determination letter, again, it will identify that the parent, in this case, state headquarters at this location, is filing on behalf of a group, and you are a part of that group. And sometimes the veterans organization, when uploading this document into the document vault, will provide the page where they're listed as a subordinate. And what DASNY and DVS are going to be requiring to see, in addition to the IRS determination document, is a letter stating that the organization is in good standing with the parent organization, as well as the federal ID number and their legal name known to the parent organization. Okay, so for subordinate veterans organization, again, it'll be the parent's IRS 501c determination letter with or without the page. We prefer the page with the subordinate listed, and the parent's letter, which would look similar to this, opining, and a letter, again, saying that you're in good standing, federal ID, and the legal name. If you're a veterans organization that is incorporated under the Department of State, so you are subordinate, but you've also incorporated under the Department of State, there's going to be a period of time that we're going to have approve a hybrid combination of the incorporation papers, as well as the IRS determination letter from your parent organization. But ultimately what has to happen is that if you are incorporated through the Department of State, you're going to have your own IRS determination letter. If there's any questions in regards to that, we can try to walk you through that. Okay, next is the IRS 990. Again, no matter which form is filed, whether it be the 990EZ, the postcard, or otherwise, the these forms must be in the legal name of the organization, which again must match the other corporate documents as noted in slide 2. And those, as you may recall, are again, the incorporation papers, the IRS 990 sections, the bylaws. All of your documents need to be consistent across the board. Okay, so next is the audit and review and findings section of the document vault. So the vendor pre-qualification policy manual, again, there's a link here on this slide. And again, will be provided to you through the grants management website and as well as other areas. It's a good resource for your organization wanting additional information on what a pre-qualifying agency is looking for, in particular as it relates to this audit review and findings section. Because if you're considered a large organization where revenue is greater than $750,000, that an audited financial statement would be required. If a medium organization, meaning somebody who has less than $750,000, but greater than $250,000, they must provide a financial statement reviewed by a CPA. And in cases where a small organization has a revenue of $250,000 or less, must provide an internal financial report, preferably approved by the board, with their legal name on it, uploaded to this area of the document vault. Again, as a reminder, all of these legal documents have to be in the legal name of the organization. If they are not, there's going to obviously need an explanation for why that is. Okay, so the CHAR 500 or CHAR 410, the Charities Bureau is under the auspices of the Office of the New York State Attorney General. The charitable organizations operating in the state of New York are required by law to register and file annual financial reports with the Attorney General's Charities Bureau. Their oversight includes any organization that conducts charitable activities, holds property, and is used for charitable purposes or solicits financial or other contributions. This is required, I believe, for $25,000 or more. More information can be provided pursuant to that requirement on that Attorney General's website, but I believe that is the case and will more than likely be noted in your request for grant applications when the opportunities are posted. They will hopefully provide that information. Okay, so for this section, either a CHAR 410, again, grants management team, not DASNY or DVS, but the grants management team requires for this section of the document vault that a CHAR 410 or the registration form for Charities Bureau be uploaded, or a CHAR 500. And if the organization is believed to be exempt, then the organization may upload a letter, preferably from an authorized officer, stating that the organization is exempt and preferably why. Not just, hey, I'm exempt, don't bother me anymore. We don't need to upload anything additional to this site. We really want to know why you believe you may be exempt. And again, I believe the Charities Bureau website does provide guidance in that regard. Once again, I want to remind everybody that the documentation supplied in this section, the legal name must match the other corporate documents. That's including the letterhead. I mean, We know that certain organizations know themselves as something other than their legal name. We prefer that the organizational letterhead have a legal name on it as well. So Board of Directors profile in the senior leadership resume section of the document vault. So we went over slide 3, what the organization structure should look like. So in the case of the Board of Directors area, the list of Board of Directors and the names of the board members, the office held by each, how many years they have served in the role, et cetera, that will all need to be uploaded into the section. The New York State Grants Management Office, the team, provides a template on the Get Pre-Qualified webpage under helpful resources. And it's shown on this slide that there are 2 templates out there. One is for the board of directors. And then if you do not have senior management resumes, they also offer the CV template that you can complete and upload. Again, just as a refresher, volunteer organizations where there are no paid employees, your senior leaders are going to be more often than not your board members. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these 2 sections. Okay, next section is the corporate bylaws. This, as noted in the vendor pre-qualification manual, corporate bylaws are essential to an organization's governance. Bylaws lay out the basic rules of the board's structure, their operational management, and the direction of the organization. Bylaws may outline various areas such as what is noted on this slide. An organization incorporated through the Department of State with their own federal ID must have their own adopted corporate bylaws and is required to be uploaded to the document vault, preferably, again, all as one document. So if you have a 10-page bylaw, try not to upload it individual pages on the same day. We prefer that everything be uploaded as one PDF document. The legal name of the organization must be noted on the bylaws and must match the other corporate documents. We can't stress enough the importance of the consistency between the legal name conventions. If the not-for-profit organization is a veterans organization that is a subordinate under a parent organization, as previously described, the organization must have adopted the parent's organization's bylaws, or they must have adopted their own bylaws or a combination of both. So if the veterans organization only uploaded the bylaws of the parent, then that will need to be identified in this section, and the bylaws from the parent is preferred. I understand it could be hundreds of pages. So if that is the case, then you also may want to just note that it was passed and that the organization, the parent organization's bylaws are available upon request. All of what we're talking about today can be audited if necessary. So just keep that in mind when you upload your documentation to the document vault. Okay, so once the document vault's required forms and the required documents have been completed. So again, this is how the document vault will look when you're in it. So you're going to answer these questions in the capacity, the compliance, the integrity section, service description, etc. This is where you're going to upload the documents. Right about above this gray line where it says not-for-profit required documents, there's going to be a submit feature. If you do your document vault and you hit the submit feature right after you're done, you typically won't have any errors come up. If you do get an error, there are a couple of recommendations. One is to go in and out of the required forms section of the document vault just to make sure that there's sometimes that occurs when you haven't been in your document vault for a little while. So it just wants to make sure that you're reviewing each of those sections to make sure that it is up to date and current. Okay. And again, if you run into errors and you're really not sure what the error is, reach out to the help desk, which will be provided to you in a few minutes. Once you have, when the delegated administrator selects that submit, which again, this is a view that we see from a pre-qualifying agency standpoint, or from just a view standpoint. If we wanted to go in and see somebody's organization incorporation documents, we can do that at DASNY or DVS by going into your document vault and just looking at some of these documents. So that's why you won't see submit feature here, because in this scenario, the document vault is actually with the organization itself and not with the pre-qualifying agency. So again, that from an organization standpoint, that submit feature will be right about under that service capacity area. And when the delegated administrator selects that submit feature, the delegated administrator will then be prompted to acknowledge that the information and documentation uploaded to the document vault is true and correct. So you want to make sure that whoever is doing that has the authority to sign on behalf of the organization. We at DASNY typically advise that it be an authorized officer, meaning they are able to bind the organization into a contract. By acknowledging the sign off, the system will then auto-generate an email to the pre-qualifying agency advising them that the document vault has been submitted and sent to the pre-qualifying agency and is ready for review. The status of the document vault when any organization goes in to view, let's say XYZ organization, it will say document vault in review for the initial submission. So if you're doing this for the first time, it's going to say document vault in review. And again, error messages are sometimes do happen. And again, check the required form area first and foremost. And if you still can't determine what the error is, we will provide a help desk link for you at the end of the presentation. So again, I want to remind everyone on the call today that just because you submit your document vault doesn't automatically mean the document vault is pre-qualified. There will be a back and forth with a pre-qualifying agency more often than not. And when the pre-qualifying agency feels they need a section of the document vault corrected, again, they're going to note it in the notes section or provide an email to you. So again, make sure you're checking your junk and spam folders if it's not, if you're not seeing that information in your inbox. Once the review is completed, the pre-qualifying agency will return the document vault as noted. So the status of the document vault is going to change. When it's sent back to the organization and it needs modifications, the email automatically generated by the system will come through to the agency or the delegated administrator saying document vault modifications needed. Make sure you check your spam or junk folders. If modifications are needed, and again, this is your initial back and forth with a pre-qualifying agency, you are going to want to take care of those deficiencies before applying for an opportunity and resubmit the document vault. You have to obtain that document vault, obtain a pre-qualified document vault and maintain that pre-qualification when applying and proceeding with a grant opportunity through the state. Again, once everything is in order, you've submitted it for the last time to a pre-qualifying agency. The agency says, yep, this is exactly what I was looking for. They pre-qualify you. Again, that pre-qualification notification email will be sent to you. And again, it will be up to the organization completing the document vault to monitor that document vault and make sure that it continuously is up to date and pre-qualified. So those are the required documents that you'll want to make sure that are available when you're completing your document vault. And now, hopefully, you've gotten your pre-qualified document vault and you can now search for grant opportunities. So an organization interested in applying for funding opportunities through New York State can browse or search the New York State Grants Management Portal, which is where most state funding opportunities are posted. On the New York State Grants Management website, go to the search for funding webpage and then find opportunities. Here you will find links to browse or search the portal. If the organization would like to be notified by email of an opportunity, then the organization must sign up for notification under receive notification. So the email will look like this one here on your screen. It says a new available opportunity has been posted. In this case, it was the last round of Veterans Nonprofit Capital Program, et cetera, et cetera. If you want an email like this, you have to sign up to receive notifications. And again, if you're doing a search for funding, you'll have the ability to browse or search. There's various ways of doing, everything that I'm showing you in this presentation in various areas of the grants management webpage. Okay, so once you do select a search hyperlink, it's going to bring you to a screen that looks similar to what's on this slide. And in the search grant opportunity field, the organization can then enter the opportunity that they believe to be available. As we all are aware of, the next round of the Veterans Nonprofit Capital Program grant will be uploaded to this opportunity portal sometime on November 29th. So you'll want to do this type of search looking for the opportunity and read through the request for grant application for additional information, including if you are eligible to apply, if you already have been awarded a round one. We've been getting a lot of questions about that. So because it's an open procurement, we recommend that you review that request for grant application when it becomes available. Okay, so once you have entered the opportunity that you are looking for, you are going to select search. That search is going to bring up the opportunity, in which case you will then select the grant opportunity. I highly recommend that you looked at the columns to the right of the opportunity to make sure that you are selecting the appropriate opportunity, because as everyone may be aware, at least the veterans organizations are aware on this, some of you may know, the round one is closed. So you want to make sure that what you're selecting is the most current and open opportunity that you're looking for. This also will advise you when the due date for the applications are going to be due by. So again, if the results show that an opportunity is available, you're going to then open the opportunity, which is going to look very similar to this one. That was the opportunity posted last November for round one of the Veterans Nonprofit Capital Program. It's going to provide where the RGA can be located, these pass-fail questions. Is there going to be a presentation? This page is going to provide a great amount of detail before you even get into the request for grant application. So be sure to read through that opportunity profile. So as I mentioned earlier, the importance of the organization members is such that, and we ran into this in the last round of our Veterans Nonprofit Capital Program, is that if you do not have the proper role identified to an individual at your organization, then you're probably not going to be able to apply for that opportunity. So be sure to review the vendor manual, which again, that link is going to be provided to you to make sure that, which this is a screenshot of, make sure that you have individuals set up with the right role, and then they can view the grant opportunity request for grant application, or they can actually apply and sign to that application, which was the case in the last Veterans program. Now, somebody's going to ask probably at the end of this, are you going to have to go through the portal to apply for this next round of Veterans Nonprofit? Well, you're going to have to read through the request for grant application to see if you're going to need that. But as a little surprise, you will not. The opportunity will be posted there, but you will not have to apply through the portal. So there's my little surprise for everyone on this call. So if there are any questions regarding the grants management system, registering, pre-qualifying, or searching for opportunities, it is recommended that you go to the New York State Grants Management System website and read carefully and thoroughly through their resources, which again are plentiful, including those noted in this presentation. Please be aware that there are different ways, again, I stated this earlier, but there are different ways to access that various areas of that website. So this is one, again, that I recommend is just going to training and guidance. This is where all your videos are. They also provide live webinars and instructional videos on how to do exactly what we went over today as it relates to the different areas of the document vault. Again, if you have any questions regarding the New York State Grants Management website, the system, or the best way to get a hold of grants management, it's noted here on this slide here, which again, the best way to get a hold of them is via email, not the phone number. Okay, so at this time, I think we're ready for questions, Deborah.
Yep, you have a couple of them in the Q&A.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you can see them, Sarah, to read them
Let me take a
at the
look.
bottom of your screen.
Okay. Sure. Let me take a look. Okay. So we have a question about whether someone from round one is able to apply for the next round. Again, you'll have to read through the request for grant applications, I'm sorry to say. The parameters will be made available, as Karen indicated, on November 29th. Again, it's important to monitor that opportunity portal. It will provide guidance on the next round. I missed my pre-qualified update. Do I have to do a new application, or can I still? Okay, I'm not quite sure what that means. If you're referring to the veterans application, the application will be different in this round than the last round. So if that's what you're referring to, then I would just make sure that, and it's for the same project. I would keep a hold of that application. Some of that information may still be pertinent to the new application. If you're talking about the pre-qualifying in the document vault, I'm not quite sure what is being asked there. So whoever that is, it looks like COGNITORE will need some additional information. So all pages of the 990 have to be uploaded. Yes, in the 990 section of the document vault, all pages of the 990 are required to be uploaded. Okay, if understood correctly, a naming convention issue is not having our legal name on the letterhead. I mean, we know that some veteran organizations know themselves as one thing, and their legal name is another. If you're known as something and it's on your letterhead as known as, we just recommend that in the letter itself for the CHAR 500 or 410, if you are uploading a letter of exemption, you at least state what your legal name is in the letter. That way, there's no questions asked. Okay. Okay, so that with the next round of Veterans Nonprofit Capital Program opportunity, there will be a presentation on the application process. This presentation today was only to go over the grants management website and the document vault process, because it is required that you have a pre-qualified document vault before applying for the opportunity. You don't need to hire a grant writer to get approved for a grant. It's not necessary. That's the organization's prerogative. Resumes specific to the role of the organization. Are they typical resumes used for employment? A resume, yes. If you read through the grants management the manuals, the resumes are exactly that. They are going to be resumes that you would use in applying for a job, or again, there is a template that you can use on the grants management website. It's called a senior leadership CV template that you can use. It's a little bit easier than uploading the resumes. And if you do upload resumes, if you have 3 senior leaders, again, it's recommended that you upload all 3 senior leadership resumes as one document. Is the application first come and first serve? Again, the application for round 2 of the Veterans Nonprofit Capital Program, I'm not going to go into further detail about that. It will be outlined in the request for grant application, so you'll have to read through that. So is it beneficial to submit an application as soon as possible? Not necessarily. Again, you're going to have to read through that request for grant applications to see what is required. Yes, it is November 29th that the opportunity for veterans will be posted again. Mistakes, we did have up on the Department of Veteran Services website for a period of time where we found problems to be. If you did not see that presentation, please reach out to vncp@dasny.org. We'll work with you in getting that information out to you. Okay, so Jonathan wrote the info that if successful for round 1, that they may not apply for round 2 unless the grant is closed out. So we can tell them that, Jonathan. Yeah, I mean, it's not
Could you tell
going
me
to,
now?
it's not going to be problematic with the procurement. So we will go ahead and tell you that if you have been awarded a grant in round one, you will not be able to apply for round two. It is going to be an open procurement. If you have applied, if you withdrawn for whatever reason from round one, then you can apply for round two. I think I had one question yesterday come through to my email that said, well, this project is costing me more money than what I applied for. You may want to withdraw from round one then and apply for round two. However, if you do that, you are not guaranteed an award in round two. I just will say that. Okay. Okay, so are there any other questions that we can help anyone with? Again,
Jared,
sure.
could you just look at the Q&A portion? It's right next to the chat button.
Okay.
I believe a couple of them were answered, but I wanted to make sure we got to those as well.
Okay. I apologize. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Veterans Outreach Center in Rochester has been diligently trying to obtain our updated CHAR 500 from the state. It's been several months and we still do not have the updated CHAR. Without this, we will not be pre-qualified. Our auditors keep looking on the state webpage and it still says pending. I've also emailed the New York State contact. So if that's the case, I would take a print screen of that and upload it with your prior CHAR. I think that may be sufficient to do. So we can have you attempt to do that. Is it recommended that all not-for-profit organizations get pre-qualified with the state? So if you want to do business and get funding from the state, you should get pre-qualified. Patrick, I don't know if you're a grant writer or it sounds like you might be some type of consultant. You'll want to, if you're doing some grant writing for a not-for-profit organization, these not-for-profit organization wishing to get state funding will need to get in the document vault and get pre-qualified. Hopefully that's answered your question. I think I answered M. Kern's question in regards to cost overruns. You cannot apply for the next round for overruns, but if you want to withdraw and take a risk in trying to get awarded for additional funding, you may try to do that. So the CHAR 500 refiling is done annually. That information is on the Attorney General's website. And we went over the fact that you will want to put your fiscal year start and end date appropriately in the CHAR 500 section, because again, that's going to be critical in when your document vault expires. Again, if you're curious about failing the first round, please reach out to me at vncp@dasney.org. Okay, so Division of Corporate. Okay, so yeah, unfortunately, can't help you with the Division of Corporation in getting a copy of your incorporation papers from 40 years ago. You'll just have to just be patient in getting that.
I believe they also offer the opportunity to have documents expedited. There is a additional fee but I believe that there certain documents can be expedited. I'm not sure which ones they are. So
Okay,
that might be something to look into.
we can look into that. Thank you, Jonathan. Okay. What is the average time of first timers to get pre-qualified? That is unclear. It depends again how prepared the agency or the I'm sorry, I keep saying agency, the delegated administrator is. So it could be a few weeks and it could be over a year. We've had one that has really had some struggles right now because their legal name does not match up with what the IRS has them known as. So, and as we know, the IRS can be very, very slow in responding as well. So, and it appears that others are having problems with the Department of State. So you'll want to start as soon as possible. Okay, we talked about resumes. So our veterans organizations limited to applying for nonprofit capital program. Again, you'll have to refer to the request for grant applications. There will be an overview section of who can apply and who cannot apply for that veterans capital program grant. And we are not going to go over that in this presentation because again, it is an open procurement. It will be an open procurement. Okay. So at this question, after getting, I think it says pre-qualified, do you have to spend the money to get the grant? So, so this is actually a little confusing. So you have to get a document vault pre-qualified before applying for an opportunity. Once you've applied for the opportunity, then you will have to be awarded the opportunity and go through the process of the agency to get a contract. Each agency may be different. So again, that request for grant applications is going to go over whether it's a reimbursement grant program or if there will be an opportunity to be paid on invoice. So you'll have to, again, read through the request for grant application or the opportunity that's offered by a state agency on the portal. Does a VFW need a CHAR 500? Well, it depends. Most of them do not. Most of them will provide a 410, and then Charities Bureau will notify them more often than not. I'm guessing, but I'm not in the Charities Bureau. But more, I'm going to say they're probably going to be exempt unless you get a award of $25,000 or more. So that CHAR 500 will be required if you are awarded, for example, a veterans grant through the VNCP program of $25,000 or more. We have never done any reports on our charities. We do not solicit. Okay, so do we have to go through the CHAR 500 process? If you believe that you are exempt from Charities Bureau, then again, grants management does state that a letter from your organization stating why you believe your organization is exempt can be acceptable. So we recommend that you reach out to the New York State Grants Management team for further guidance in regards to that. But again, if you have donations or funding of $25,000 or more from such as the VNCP grant, you are going to be required to do that. Jim T, we are a Legion post. Thank you. We appreciate the post being available for the veterans. If you have a question, I'd be happy. And I see that you were the one who posted the Char 500 question. So thank you for providing services to our veterans. And again, if you think you might be exempt, I recommend that you work with the grants management team. Okay, have I got everything, Deborah?
Well, since you were doing that, there's a couple more that came into the chat.
Okay.
There was one comment about naming conventions, and I think that's where you left off. But they found that piece was still confusing.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to bring up on, I think the best way to show this is by going back to the slide 2. Okay, so naming convention. If your organization is known as 1234 Incorporation, and you are registered with the Department of State, you should have a certificate of incorporation paper filed with the Department of State that says your legal name is 1234 Incorporation or Incorporated, excuse me. And then in the subsequent documents, your bylaws, the IRS document, the audit review and findings, and your Charity Bureau documentation, all being uploaded to the Grants Gateway document vault, should have the legal name of 1234 Incorporated. That legal name should also have a federal identification number assigned to it, just like a person has a social security number. So when you register with the New York State Grants Management System, you are going to want to identify your organization as 1234 Incorporated with that federal ID number. And when you submit the substitute W-9 form, if you are uploading, getting a document vault for the first time, that substitute W-9 form will also want to identify your organization as 1234 Incorporated. Same with veterans organizations. If you are a veterans organization, you are a subordinate under a parent organization. You have a parent IRS determination letter. So you are a subordinate under a parent. You have provided that IRS 501c determination letter where you provide the page where you're listed as a subordinate and your letter opining that you're in good standing, your legal name, and your federal ID number. Again, that should match with the certificate of election if you have rights under New York State benevolent orders law with the Department of State. And again, that will match the bylaws, unless, of course, you have adopted the parent organization's bylaws. If you have your own bylaws that may or may not incorporate the parent organization bylaws, that should have your legal name as well as these other documents. Does that hopefully answer that person's question? Okay, I did not see another chat, so hopefully that has provided some further guidance in regards to that. What is the average time? We talked about that. And what does open procurement mean? It means that an opportunity is being open to organizations noted in the request for grant applications, and we cannot give one organization an advantage over another. So that's why we almost have a little bit of a gag order in regards to providing information. It has to be an all notification to everyone that's eligible to apply, or we can't discuss it at all. Because again, we do not want to give an organization one leg up, so to speak, from another. Hopefully that has answered your question as well.
But just to add on to that, there will be, after the RGA is released, there will be a Q&A period
Yes, there
where
will.
you can ask any questions that you believe are relevant, and
Mhm.
to the extent that we have the information or can get it, we can provide that to everyone at the same time.
Correct. Okay, thank you, Foxy Tablet, for letting me know that the one slide says Division of Corporations instead of Department. I'll get that updated before we post the presentation. Thank you. And I'm not sure what the question is from you, Foxy Tablet. The Department of State says Division of Corporations Entity Information, not-for-profit category, non-charitable. Does this meet the requirement for CHAR 410 or 500? I'm not sure what you're referring to, so you may have to email me so I can provide further guidance, or reach out to New York State Grants Management is the preferable way. Any other questions? Chat, I see chat might have increased a little bit, so let's take a look.
Sarah, on the Department of State says Division of Corporations. The Department of State within it has a Division of Corporations.
Okay, yes, you are
Be
correct.
clear.
Thank you, Jonathan, for correcting me. Any other questions?
I don't see any, Sarah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. The recording may stop, and we will get the presentation